Hi everyone, you've probably chosen the all-time best day to join us because I'm here with Crista Freeman, the co-founder and CEO of Phin and Phebes. Yes, we are talking about all natural ice cream before 9 a.m., so this is my kind of morning. Thanks so much for being with me, Crista.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. Yeah, it's awesome.
So your favorite quote is by Steve Martin, "Be so great that they can't ignore you." Tell me how that has played a role in you building this amazing ice cream empire.
Yeah. So I think that's been, everything that we've done in terms of just flavor development, building our business and testing our product, and also as well as raising money. We've really I've always taken that approach. When we release a flavor, it has to be the best it can be. We never, it has to be the best. We want to recreate that experience when you taste ice cream for the first time when you're a child with each pint. So we may not have a ton of flavors on the shelf, but we take that same approach with all of our flavors that we develop, our packaging, our voice, our actual brand, and then also how we, the transparency that we have with, when we're, raising money or with our vendors, and our customers. And so that's pretty much been like the building block, the foundation for how we do business. So
I'm a firm believer that we should all eat dessert for breakfast. So if you had to have one flavor of Phin and Phebes for breakfast, what would it be?
Probably Banana Whamma, which is our banana pudding flavor. We hand-bake vanilla-style wafers that go inside of that. It's really, really awesome. So it's good. It has bananas in it. It's kind of like breakfast.
True, you're getting fruit.
Yeah.
And there's egg yolks for protein.
Yeah, you can put it on a waffle. It'd be good.
Jess and you have such a special story finding the inspiration for this. Can we go back to those ice cream making weekends?
Yeah, God. Yeah, so it's really great. So we worked really, really great together in terms of how we come up with flavor combinations. Jess would always come up with some ingredients she really wanted to use, and right away I would just kind of spurt out a flavor. So for example, Jess was like goat cheese, and I'd be like, oh, goat cheese with goat milk caramel, and just kind of come up with these collaborations. And we had this chalkboard wall where we would write out all of our flavor ideas in our first kitchen, our test kitchen, which was our apartment. And up until recently, our apartment was our test kitchen. So we were probably banging out around 3 flavors or so a weekend of concepts and things and ideas that we were really set on. And then also we were very inspired. We were constantly eating. We like the kid that we were professional eaters. So we're always eating and being inspired by what we're eating. So for example, next door to our apartment was a Vietnamese, like a little banh mi sandwich shop, and they had Vietnamese iced coffee. And so we were always drinking iced coffees in our backyard, taking breaks. And we're like, we might as well make this into an ice cream flavor. This is awesome. So that's kind of like, ties into, the creative process and how we work together.
Do you guys still use that chalkboard?
No, we had to move apartments, which is really sad. But I will sketch things out sometimes. Like everything kind of starts in my sketchbook, and I would literally draw have a little dialogue and draw like the key lime pie going into the pint of ice cream and things like that. So it's not as fun and whimsical as it used to be. It's more strategic, but yeah, we have like a shared kind of like Evernote that we post flavor ideas to. So
how does the sourcing of the new flavors come now, because you have so many people enjoying the product?
Yeah, so the sourcing of flavors, unfortunately, like you think about flavors that you really want to launch, but then you have to also think about what you have to come to the business side of it and what's really going to sell well. So you want to think about your overall family of flavors and what's going to play well together. And so when we're making new flavors, we always try to think about that, and also just thinking about what types of flavors sell the most in terms of we have some information and we know like vanilla sells the best, chocolate number 2, and trying to combine flavor concepts with those kinds of things. So we typically will come up with stuff that we love, but we necessarily will sell well. And we'll do a lot of user testing and tasting and stuff like that. Meaning we'll have our friends come or random people from our office building and try stuff and concepts we're coming up with and kind of narrow down flavors around that. So
I have to say, knowing that vanilla is the top seller is such a disappointment. Don't listen to them. They're wrong.
Really? But vanilla is so good. If you make a really good vanilla with awesome ingredients, it can be amazing. We're actually launching a new vanilla flavor, just a plain vanilla. We're calling it mucho vanilla because we're using a really great vanilla extract that's actually manufactured in Madagascar versus taking the vanilla beans and bringing them over here and manufacturing it. So it's giving the industry back to Madagascar. And the name of the company is called Madagas. And we're partnering with them to launch this flavor. And it's really great, what they're doing. So, and it's also great tasting vanilla. So
it's great. My brother's a big vanilla fan, so I'll have to get him that one.
Yeah. Awesome.
So down the road, you guys actually attended Ice Cream University, and before I learned about it, I thought it was a super fun place where the classes is sampling ice cream. That's definitely not the case. What was that experience like?
Oh God, I think we both had a little bit of a mini meltdown because we just quit our jobs and then we go into this course and we have this huge binder. It's literally like this thick, and it was an intensive course. It's like from 8 o'clock in the morning to almost 10 o'clock at night, some nights, just because of we had labs and then also lectures. Anybody would be there from a plant manager from Ben & Jerry's to a mom and pop scoop shop to somebody that's really excited about ice cream and just wants to learn about the food science of ice cream. So we freaked out a little bit, how are we going to reformulate all of our recipes, but we learned so much, and we really learned these are the characteristics that we want our ice cream to have and what we don't want it to have by being in those labs. Lots of the ice creams were the ice creams that we tasted would have corn syrup and all this stuff in it, and we saw the melting properties of the ice cream and things those were just characteristics that we didn't want to have. We want to have a clean product, and so it was kind of unheard of. Most of the professors at Penn State were shocked that we wanted to make ice cream with egg yolks versus guar gum and carrageenan, because it's very rare that you find ice creams that are made without those products and that actually use eggs instead. So it was a really great learning experience from us. I must say I would like to go back and do it because I feel like I didn't learn as much as I would have liked to, because I was so kind of freaked out by everything that was going on, just quitting my job, knowing that we had to reformulate everything, and I just kind of couldn't take it all in as much as I would like to. Yeah.
Real quick, this is something that's super important to me. Before we move on, can you just highlight some of the ingredients that you guys use and why that's so important to you?
Yeah, so it's really important to us to be as transparent as possible. So we just use heavy cream, milk, sugar, and egg yolks in our ice cream, and then whatever's needed to flavor the ice cream. So no corn syrup, which is typically found in ice cream as an emulsifier or a bulking agent. No carrageenan, no guar gum, no xanthan gum, just really clean ingredients. And then for example, in the banana pudding flavor, we'll have banana puree and vanilla extract, and then the cookies that we bake. So it's really straightforward ingredients. I like to say that people could try to simulate the recipes in their home kitchen because they are very, pretty straightforward. And also, it's just a high butter fat, 15%, low overrun, meaning the amount of air that's in the ice cream, there's a low amount of air. So it makes it very dense and also bolder in flavor than a Breyer's ice cream or something of that nature. Yep.
I love it. Sorry, I'm big on health, so I wanted to make sure that was highlighted. Let's fast forward, Crista, to the first call. I think it was Marlo and Sons, right? When they called to ask to carry Phin and Phebes.
Yeah.
What was that moment like?
I mean, it's awesome because also Marlo is one of our favorite restaurants. And it was, it was an inspiration for us in terms of, for our dark chocolate salted caramel, we can get into later, but it was great. We're like, okay, let's do this. We met with them. We did the little half pints. And it was really validating. Okay, this, this shop that we really look up to wants to carry our product. And then we got the half pints into the stores, and then we couldn't keep up. Literally, we would make the ice cream after work at night, and then it would sell out. And then we'd make it and sell out. And then that's when we realized that we really had to kind of switch how we were doing our business and take it to the next level as well.
Did you celebrate with ice cream, or are you guys kind of over ice cream now?
No, I definitely like ice cream. I don't eat as much ice cream as we used to. I think we celebrate more with pizza parties versus with ice cream or something of that nature. No, we all love ice cream. It's just that we taste a lot of it. So it's not as much just straight up eating ice cream as it used to be. So
That's kind of unfortunate. I'm sorry.
No, it is, but we definitely we eat other things like lots of cookies and other things that inspire us that go into like the ice cream tasting process. But we're always tasting ice cream. It's just I'm not necessarily eating pints of ice cream as much as I used to.
This is a job for me. I'm gonna pack up and come work with you guys.
I know. We got 2 chest freezers in our office of samples, so you come by and try it.
How many stores are you guys in right now?
So we're in around 750 or so. Yep. Yeah.
That's really, really incredible for how young of a company you guys are.
Thank you. I always kind of get a little bit down on myself that we're not in more locations, that's kind of, but yeah, we're doing really well. And we've done all this without an actual sales team or a broker, which most grocery, food companies use. They use a broker to help get the appointments with grocery stores. I've literally from day one hit the pavement with a freezer bag, going out making cold calls. I would find people in the freezer aisle that were stocking the freezer cases, get them to try the ice cream in the aisle. I figured out what their schedules were, and that's how I did all my initial first time sales. And then today, now obviously, I reach out to larger stores at a time and try to get my foot in the door, which can be challenging without having a salesperson with a ton of experience or leveraging a broker network. So yeah.
I want to go back to those specific cold calls, which I chuckled because they actually literally were cold calls because you're in the freezer aisle. But yeah. You guys had just found a distributor and you literally had to go out and find a new store once a week. That would have caused me to stress eat ice cream more than I would have had time to go and find new stores. What was it like going out to get a new store every week? Because that's a big deal.
So actually, no distributor would talk to us. We didn't have a distributor. It was funny. We had to get stores in order to get a distributor. So we found a guy that had a freezer truck, and he was willing to deliver to the stores that we sold to.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is that what is the term for that? The correct term?
I don't even know. I don't know if he's a distributor. I guess we were self-distributing essentially. Okay. So we were self-distributing our product, and we were paying him a percentage of those weekly sales to distribute for us. And he actually stored the product for us in his freezers in upstate New York because he used to make ice cream. He actually still makes some ice cream today. So yeah, it was super stressful because I think the most stressful thing for us was when we went to do our first test run at the co-packer. And we weren't in any stores yet, and really besides the initial Marlo, and then we had a commit from Green Grape. So yeah, I just really made my primary goal sales. So I had this master spreadsheet, and I would figure out I would call all the stores I wanted to get into. I would find out when the frozen buyer guy would be in, or a woman, and I would go just show up. And I would just do a cold call, and I did that from 0 to 60 stores in over a 4 month period. But it was really, I think the thing is that we had really great packaging, we had a good product. I think the actual co-founder of a business is going to be the best salesperson, be really enthusiastic about it, and I was persistent because if I didn't sell it, we weren't going to make it. So it was kind of make it or die, right? So that was I wasn't really stressed out. It was a challenge, and I like challenges. So
the only challenge I like is how much ice cream can you eat over a short period of time. But yeah. I admire you for that. What was your biggest learning during that 4 month period?
Oh God, so many things that I'm trying to think about back then. So many things I've learned over even the course of this year. I think the biggest thing I learned back then was in terms of what stores aligned best with our brand. So I think right then I was just trying to get as many stores as possible. And I was mainly approaching the smaller stores that didn't work off review periods. Bigger stores, we pitch to them in the fall, and then we get in the spring, and you can't get into those stores until later. So I was kind of just going around and pitching to any store that we could get into, and lots of times the guys are wheeling and dealing and wanted really cheap, our part for really cheap in comparison to other stores, and they promised me this velocity. And what I found out pretty quickly is that I would do these trials and these tests, and finding out that those brands didn't really fit with our those stores didn't really fit with our brand, and just really being a little bit more picky about the stores we go into if I'm going to be negotiating a discounted price, and really picking out where our core, where are the core stores that really fit within our brand. And I canceled accounts that didn't fit with our brand after that, that 4 month period, and got rid of some of those accounts that were more of a headache for me. And we still today, we're making efforts to do customer P&Ls. And so we evaluate we do a P&L for like a chain of stores that we're in, and we measure kind of the success of those stores and how much it's costing us, and if it's really worthwhile, the spend associated with that store. And we took that approach back then, but it was much less sophisticated, and we do that today with the larger chains. So
I love that you said that, and then you brought up price, because it reminds me of a previous interview where you said, if you plan on running a self-sustaining business, the biggest mistake you can make is not understanding your true cost. I've heard a lot of food entrepreneurs say this. Can you explain that?
Yeah, because I think a lot of times when people are starting out, they're making their product, they think they have a concept of how much it costs. They're like, oh, this packaging costs this and this, and then this is how much this kind of costs me when I'm sourcing this ingredient. But they haven't sat down and really created any sort of model to really understand what is the true yield of their product, and every cost down to the penny. What I'm referring to is like that cost to get that banana puree to your plant. How much is it, the freight as well? What is the landed cost of bringing your product back to your warehouse if you're not manufacturing it in your own facility, and really understanding it down to the penny. And that was something today when we prototype any flavor. We're right away costing out the product. We're getting, we're figuring out from our supplier where we're sourcing the ingredients, how much it costs, to make sure that it's going to fit in within the margin, that we would like it to. Because if you're going to stores, you always want to go in, start off with higher pricing and lower your price over time. You don't want to be raising your price in the very beginning, because it's, first of all, it's not sustainable for yourself, and that store is not going to take you seriously if you're raising your price, because they don't really necessarily care about you because you're smaller, because you haven't really, you don't really have any validity behind your brand. And so that's that's why it's really important, I believe. So
one part of the aspect of being in a store is packaging, and I know that's a huge part of your product. You shared before that you guys started out with handwritten packaging, part of that cost conversation, because you didn't have validity. You didn't even know if people were going to buy it. Now you guys take a lot of time and creativity into the packaging. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the packaging originally was inspired by the chalkboard wall, where I was hand drawing out our flavor concepts and things of that nature. And so when we came up with our packaging, we really wanted to create something that was fun and approachable. I went and visited a lot of the stores, like grocery stores. I watched how people interacted with the ice cream they were buying, and how they kind of approached the case and they stepped away from the case. And I wanted to make sure that we're kind of color blocking the shelf. So if you notice, our packaging is kind of bright, it blocks off the shelf. And also to make sure that our flavor name was really dominant. Right now, we're actually in the process. We're launching new packaging, so those will be hitting the shelf this spring. But we really wanted to kind of create, the packaging to come from ourselves. So that's why we took those hand drawn graphics that we actually hand drew with Prismacolor pencils. My friend Jefferson that I went to art school with actually executed on the packaging, and a lot of the packaging was taken from some of my own drawings, and we went through and did lots of the art direction and color, come up with the color and the process and things like that. So for us, it's really important that's approachable and fun in the beginning stages, but now we've learned a lot since then, and we kind of avoided always fitting into that natural channel consumer, like how you see on the shelf, everything kind of looks the same. It's very glossy and clean. And we kind of resisted that in the beginning, but we realize now that our packaging didn't necessarily speak directly to the consumer. We weren't calling out all those good ingredients that you're so fond of. We weren't calling out, the fair trade and organic ingredients are in our packaging, in our product, but they're not listed on the front panel. We weren't calling out the fact that we're using non-GMO ingredients. And also we weren't telling the flavor story involved with each of our flavors, how this flavor, concept came to be, how we're sourcing ingredients. And so now we're refreshing our packaging to tell that story and also give it appetite appeal, which was lacking in our first round of packaging, the stuff you see on the shelf today. So actually seeing a picture of the ingredients on the packaging. So what you'll see when you see the packaging roll out on the shelf the next couple of weeks, you're going to see a hand-drawn story around the ingredients, and also telling the story of how this banana pudding flavor was inspired by myself growing up in the South and, eating banana pudding and how it's made, and, the baker that's making the cookies. And so it's a next level of packaging that we're launching.
I love that, and I think it's hugely important because we go into stores now and you're just so bombarded by everything that's in there. And as someone who is passionate about health and health conscious, it's so hard to find a product like yours. So I would love if I walked in and I could see, like you said right away, what's in it, what's the story, it's organic, it's natural, it's from local farmers. That's huge. So I'm excited you guys are doing that.
Yeah, because I mean, we didn't even call out, we sourced our dairy from before, but we were sourcing dairy from Ohio, from small family farms, and there's like Mennonite farmers, and it's just a husband and a wife, and they're growing everything, themselves. It's very, it's no more than like 100 cows at a time. So now we're calling out the fact that we're sourcing from that in our packaging, but we weren't calling that out before. So things like you mentioned. So you learn in the beginning, like we're just kind of building up our brand as quickly as possible and trying to launch it. And, you don't really necessarily think about all those things in the beginning. So
now that sales are increasing, how are you scaling the business side of things? How do you see Phin and Phebes being different when you guys are national? Because you guys are mostly East Coast right now, right?
Yeah, we're mostly East Coast. So as we grow, it becomes harder because, right now we have a really great, brand following within, the East Coast, specifically like the New York City area. So as we grow, it's one of the reasons that we actually did the packaging refresh was to prepare us for that, because, we can educate the consumer here by doing in-store tastings. But obviously, as you grow and become a national brand, it becomes much harder to fund. So we really wanted to speak to the consumer by telling that story on our packaging and educating them in that way. So we're also trying to leverage building out, we call it a brand ambassador program. So as we grow and become more saturated in other, other cities, we're going to be hopefully trying to reach out to people people reach out to us, are enthusiastic about our product, and work with them to become brand ambassadors by giving them coupons to buy the product for free, bring it to dinner parties, when they're entertaining with their friends and things of that nature. We'll also be leveraging in-store tastings as we grow to grow the brand. To have people taste the product and help, create word of mouth. And that's pretty much our, where we spend most of our dollars in terms of marketing is doing in-store tastings. But really the packaging refresh was our hopes to really, for people to see how we differentiate ourselves on the shelf. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's perfect. I know that demoing, you mentioned that right now, is hugely important for you guys. Let's say I'm walking past you at a Whole Foods. How are you going to get my attention? And then once I come to the table, you'd get my attention because there's ice cream, but so another person. Once I come to the table, what are you going to tell me about Phin and Phebes?
Yeah, so right away what we tell people is, come try Phin. Well, people that walk by our booth and they're like, do you want to try some ice cream? And they're like, no. And we're like, I guarantee you haven't had any ice cream like this before. So what we tell people is that this ice cream is made with just heavy cream, milk, sugar, and egg yolks, and whatever's needed to flavor the ice cream. And that's going to be the boldest tasting ice cream that you've ever had. And so that's really how we differentiate ourselves. When you taste each of our flavors, you can taste each ingredient individually. It's really clean tasting, but also bold because we're not using the carrageenan, the guar gum, etc., which actually masks a lot of the flavor of ingredients. So that's really that's the approach that we take. We also talk about, how this ice cream comes from recipes from our own home kitchen. We're coming up with the recipes and making the product. It's not some other person, it's actually the Phin and Phebes, doing this. And, we're hand baking, cookies that go into our ice cream, and we're responsibly sourcing the ingredients, as well. So that's, that's kind of the stick that we take, but it's really what I think sets it apart is really the boldness of the flavor and getting people to try it. So
very cool. So I want to shift gears for a couple of minutes and chat about your experience fundraising. You guys are currently raising money on CircleUp for the second time. How's it going?
Yep. Yeah, it's going great. CircleUp is a great platform. I mean, there's so many great investors on the platform, and also just from our last raise, we got such great investors that have been really valuable as like advisors. So it's an awesome experience. So it's going well so far. We just started, so it's always kind of slow a little bit in the beginning. Yeah, but then once you start getting towards the end of your raise, it's this when stuff really starts to really take off. So yeah.
What stuff did you guys learn from the first time you used the platform that you applied to this one?
Yeah, so I think a lot of times when people go into CircleUp, I don't know. I don't necessarily speak for them, but I think some people just utilize that platform, which is great. And I think it's actually, it's really taken leaps and bounds and changed the past year because they have so many more people on the platform. But we really leveraged, Jess posted a profile on AngelList, and we got featured on AngelList for like a month and sent out in their email newsletter, and it was awesome. So it was kind of crazy actually. We get so much emails coming through from potential investors. I was traveling back and forth to our manufacturing plant every week, like trying to field all these emails. Is crazy. But anyways, so we leveraged AngelList, and we drove traffic from AngelList to CircleUp. And we're really lucky in that regard. And I hustled and networked outside of CircleUp so much. I believe we brought around 80 to 90% of our investment from outside the platform.
Oh, wow.
So that time. So yeah, because we really had to hustle. So I would just say, like, advice to people is like, you have to kind of do like the cold calls, right? You have to, kind of try to align and figure out what investors you feel like would fit well with your brand, that would be interested. It's really researching and seeking out angel investors, and reaching out to them and telling a compelling case and having a good pitch, and always trying to get them to taste the product. Obviously, ice cream is hard and it's expensive, so we don't really get to ship out samples until we get to the kind of further along in the process. But I feel like that's the closing deal once they get to try the product. So,
when it comes to targeting angel investors, what are some of the traits that you guys are looking for?
Well, we really love women investors, so we try to look for women investors. I think we look for people that, it's just kind of like a gut thing. People we meet, people we see, like we read some like profiles or interviews with them and see how they respond in those interviews. People that I think we tend to go with people that maybe tend to lead with their gut more than necessarily. I think actually most investors do that as well, to be honest. We're also looking for investors that are not looking for like, a billion plus company, looking for people that are looking to invest in companies that are like $1 million or less. And so that's like typically what we're looking for. People that have specific consumer packaged good investments, because, I'm not going to act like we know really anything about this business. We're all constantly learning and, seeking investors that are going to add value. Or people that have, actually built, have their own business or built a business and, since sold it and, now are, being investors themselves. Because you can add a lot of value from that because they've done it before, and so that's kind of things that we look for.
I know one of your angel investors is Joanne, which is how I learned about you guys. What are you learning from her?
Oh God, learning so much. She's so awesome.
I agree.
She's amazing. What I've really learned from Joanne, I think that she's really great and just really staying positive. She's always telling me like, you gotta be more positive when you're approaching like your updates and things like that. Like I do like quarterly updates to our investors and how we're approaching stuff. Because sometimes like when I'm raising money, I always try to stay very positive. That's something that you have to do to kind of, always keep in a positive dialogue. And she's always kind of, reminding me of that, which is something I've learned. She also has taught me that, you're always going to need more money than you ever think you're going to need. And also let's see, what else she's taught me. I think also just not to necessarily be so hard on yourself, in terms of like, as an entrepreneur, lots of times you're focusing on this, this opportunity gap, and sometimes you focus too much on the gap. And I think what I've loved about the investors that I have and also advisors is that they're always reassuring me that we're doing well when I'm actually kind of being hard on myself because I'm focusing on that gap of what things I haven't accomplished, and they're always super excited about the things we have accomplished. So I think that those are some things that I've learned from her.
I love that you say that because I think it's something that all entrepreneurs deal with. And in a previous interview, I really enjoyed how you framed the it moment for yourself. You said that it's always changing.
Yeah, God, and the people like you've made it. You're in all these stores, and they think it's like you're just making all this money, and it's the it moment. I think the it moment for me is always, it's very similar to how I set goals for myself and for my team. Now that I have a team,
I love that.
Yeah, so we're consistently setting goals for ourselves, or like we call them priorities, and as we achieve them, we're setting new goals. And so there's never really an it moment, because you're always looking to move forward, and not be stuck in, that it moment. So right now, I can't think of an it moment for us, but we're always trying, in the current circumstance we're in. But we're always evolving and trying to grow and challenge ourselves. So
I've learned so much researching Jess and your journey and speaking with you today, because I feel like I spoke with someone who's working on a tea company called Four Sigma Foods, and what Taro shared with me is people think that you walk in and you tell Whole Foods, hey, I have this really great product. They take it, you become a millionaire. And there's so many small parts about food businesses that don't come to light to the consumer. For food entrepreneurs who are listening now, what are 3 key learnings that you've had that would have made it so much simpler for you early on?
Yeah, so I think people think that if you're in Whole Foods, you've made it.
I totally thought that, so never mind.
Yeah, and people consistently make it, and nothing against Whole Foods, is that Whole Foods is a validifier. So if you're in Whole Foods, then that's, that validifies your brand so that you can go get into other stores. So number 1, if you're in Whole Foods, you haven't necessarily made it. Number 2 is that this business is all about volume. So it's all about, growing into as many accounts as possible, because you need that velocity to really grow. So whether you just focus on a regional, growing your brand regionally, it just depends upon what your long-term goals are, but this business is really all about velocity, and getting as many distribution points as possible. And I don't really foresee, I don't know how we could sustain a business just growing regionally without another source of income, meaning like a food service, a scoop shop, or something of that nature, or and then number 3, I would say, for us, I think I was naive to think that all these food businesses that were growing and maybe being acquired were profitable. And this is something that I've learned and had a journey with probably the past year. So the first 2 years of our business, I really focused on near-term profitability, and we're very close to break even. But what that had done is actually has been prohibitive to our growth, because I was taking out very minimal investment and funding to actually grow a business. In order to reach our BHAG, I couldn't continue to grow at the rate I was. I needed to focus more on top line growth and focus less on near-term profitability for long-term, hopes of profitability and acquisition, if that is what your end goal is. So I think that focusing on near-term profitability sometimes is a little bit of an illusion if you have this larger goal to become a national brand. So
when it comes to being a national brand, what you're saying about that reminds me of when you guys first got your small business loan, and you actually got more than you chose to take. Why did you decide to take less?
Yes, so we decided to take less because we had to be, guarantors of that loan. So
no
we
pressure.
both just no pressure. We both freaked out a little bit. And I was going to build out like a little manufacturing plant for ourselves. And I was very against co-packing because, I had some products on the shelf that were co-packed ice cream, and they weren't good. But what I didn't understand was that that product was necessarily, like, maybe their formula was off or whatever. It wasn't necessarily just the fact that they're co-packed. And then I later found out that around 80 to 90% of the products you buy on the shelf are co-packed, actually. So we took a step back because I was going to be making all the ice cream. I was going to be doing the sales. I was going to be running the business.
Oh my God.
And trying to scale up to reach these goals. And it just wasn't realistic. So we took a step back, rewrote the business plan to co-pack the product versus making it ourselves, and took out less money to start the business.
But right now you guys have 7 flavors. Mm-hmm. Can you run us through them real quick for anyone who doesn't know?
Yeah, so we have our dark chocolate salted caramel, which is actually inspired by Marlo and Sons chocolate tart. Chocolate caramel tart is something that we used to love to eat. We don't go out to eat as much these days, so it's inspired from that flavor and from that chocolate tart. We have a banana pudding flavor, and that's inspired from my growing up in the South and eating banana pudding, and we hand bake vanilla style wafers in that. And then we have a coconut key lime, which is a coconut and key lime ice cream with graham cracker chunks. And when we first were making that in our home kitchen, we were literally I would make key lime pie from scratch and throw it into the ice cream. Then we have a ginger cookie snap, and we use just ginger juice to flavor the ice cream. And yeah, whereas most people are using like either ginger flavoring or whatever. And then we have ginger cookies with a lemon buttercream frosting that go into that. And then we have vanilla cinnamon. Oh, we don't have fluff nut anymore. I know. I wish we did. I would love to launch that. Sorry, I apologize for the noise. My team's packing boxes of samples that have a FedEx pickup, and I didn't realize, so I apologize. We have a vanilla cinnamon with a Vietnamese cinnamon, which is pretty much the nicest cinnamon you can get. So it's not too bitter, but it's really cinnamony. And actually, that one seems like that was our attempt to have a normal flavor. Then we have a Vietnamese iced coffee. And we use a chicory coffee blend, and then we also add cardamom to that, and a little bit of vanilla instead of the condensed milk that you typically find in a Vietnamese coffee. And then we have a peanutty pretzel, and it's a peanut butter ice cream, and we source the peanut butter from, once again, Nut Butters. They're in upstate New York. And then we use chocolate covered pretzels. That's 7 flavors, right? That's 7.
I think you got them all. And you said there's some upcoming ones. Can you give us any hints or not yet?
God, what if Jess will get mad at me or not? We have let's see here. We are launching, actually, I can't tell you guys, sorry, not yet. She wants to do an actual real announcement, so I don't want to tell
anybody. Them. When we stop the recording, just tell me all the flavors.
Okay, awesome.
So as we move forward, Crista, and let's say we're sitting here, it's 2018, and we'll say Joanne, because that's how I learned about you. She's writing a new blog post for you guys because you've had some major accomplishment. What do you want that headline to read?
Oh God, I had to think about this a little bit. Like, say that question to me again.
In 2018, what do you want the headline to be about Phin and Phebes? Where do you guys want to be?
2018. God, I have down to 2016.
Nah, 2016 is too easy. You got to do 3 years.
I know. 2018, I mean, I would like to be, I think an announcement would be that, my goal is to be a completely national brand by this point. I think it would be that Phin and Phebes reaches 10,000 store count. Actually, my goal is 20,000 stores. So I think that would be an awesome announcement. I mean, I don't know if that's really interesting to other people, but that's a big goal of ourselves. Yeah. I mean, our goal is to be in like around 20,000 stores. So that means not just like the Whole Foods of the world, but like, the conventional and mass channels. So like the Walmarts, etc. Because our goal is to change the way that people think about ice cream. And in order to do that, we need to get our ice cream into many people's hands as possible, because there's so much bad, product out there in terms of like, not clean ingredients. And we want to share, our clean, fun ice cream with everybody. So.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much for being with me today, Crista. How can people stay up to date with what you guys are doing? I know your Instagram is great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so people can, check out our Instagram. It's at Phin and Phebes. They can look at our Facebook. I would like to say look at our blog, but we don't update it very frequently. Twitter is a really great source as well. There's mainly social media is a great way to stay up in touch with our product. So.
Perfect, and you guys should all do it because the pictures rock. They'll make you hungry.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crista.
Yeah, thank you so much.